Hi Stampers, Purple Lizard here. Welcome back to my channel. So for my last video of the year, I'm going to talk about the first suite in the catalog. Isn't that ironic? So the first suite in the catalog is the Woven Threads Suite. That suite includes the Woven Heirloom stamp set. It's a cling stamp set. It also includes the Heirloom Frames Dies and the Heirloom Frames 3D embossing folders. It also includes this Woven Threads Designer Series paper. There are 12 sheets of double-sided paper, so 2 of each, front and back, and so forth. This is beautiful paper. It has the pretty peacock, purple posy, rococo rose, seaside spray, and terracotta tile in it. Those are all the 2019, 2021 colors. So they're all represented in this paper. Also, as another color in these is the Sahara Sand and the Whisper White. So this is really pretty paper. Also in this suite is the Woven Threads Sequin Assortment. This is it. They match nicely with the paper. There's 3 different size sequins in there, and they're kind of pearly-like. They're very pretty. The pretty peacock one is shiny, and the others seem like they're kind of a pearl. Very pretty. Also, in this suite is included the Woven Threads trim, which if I have it, I can't find it. So this is what it looks like. It's about 5/8 of an inch thick, and there's 5 yards of it. It's called the Woven Threads trim. And it's in a Sahara Sand color to match nicely with the paper. Just as a side note, some other things that I thought matched nicely with this paper. The 2019-2021 in color Faceted Dots coordinate nicely with this paper. And the Rococo Rose Gathered Ribbon goes nicely with this paper. The Reversible Ribbon with the pretty peacock ribbon goes nice with this paper. And of course this goes nice with everything. The Polka Dotted Tulle, since the background is sort of white. And I don't know how long this will be available, but this is the Metallic Ribbon Seaside Spray. It's in the holiday catalog, the 2019 holiday catalog. And I'll include the numbers for all of these at the bottom in the description. So in case you want to get any of these, that you can find the numbers easily. So that's the suite. It includes the paper, the stamps, the sequins, the dies and folders, and then of course the trim that I didn't have. It's like I said, this is a beautiful suite. I feel like every card maker should have this set because it is so iconic. Let's talk about the stamps. So the stamps are, like I said, they're a cling mount stamp. There's some lovely little accent stamps and a couple of what I would consider maybe background stamps. The sentiments are for all occasions. Thinking of you, I love you, thank you. Prayers and heartfelt sympathy are with you and your family. That's a great sympathy stamp. This one here, this wishing you a day of love and joy, this could be used on so many different cards. You could use that on a Valentine card or a wedding card, or you could even use it on a birthday card and just stamp happy birthday or write happy birthday on the inside. Or even a day that you just dread every year. You could send that to somebody. So that's a really good all occasion stamp set. Most of Stampin' Up's DVD cases, the images on them are 100% the size of the stamp, and in the cases when the images are smaller than the stamps, they usually put a little note of it on the front of the DVD case. So like in this case, these images are only 85% of the size of the actual stamp. So the stamps are actually a little bit bigger. So you will need, like for this long background stamp, you're going to need the eye block because it is pretty big. You can see it's bigger than the image on the front of the case. So you're going to need the eye block in order to hold that stamp. Also, these two sentiment stamps need a block big enough to hold them, and that block is the D block. The smaller, I think it's a C block, doesn't fit it. So the two sentiment stamps need this D block. And for the two little stamps like this, I really prefer to use this small block. It's the G block, because then I don't end up getting like the ink all over the block. But that's up to you. And the rest of them would fit pretty much on the other blocks. You could get this little block for this accent stamp. It's an A block and it holds it nicely. And for the Thinking of You stamp, it will fit on the first block that I showed you, the I block. It would fit on here. But if you wanted to fit better on the block, then you might consider the H block instead for the Thinking of You. It doesn't quite fit on the D block, I believe. It just hangs off the littlest bit. It's very tight fit. So there you go. So those are the stamps in this set. All very beautiful stamps. And also with this suite is the Heirloom Frames 3D embossing folder and the Heirloom Frames Dies. Now, in the dies, these come together as a set. If you were to buy them separately, this comes together as a set, because you can buy anything in this suite individually. So these are the dies that go with it. There's a rectangle die and an oval die, and then there are two embossing folders. There's a rectangle embossing folder and an oval embossing folder, and these fit perfectly with the frames, of course. You want to cut the frame out first with the die cut and then emboss it, because if you emboss it and then die cut it, it will smash down the image that your embossing folder does. Or you can just emboss it or just die cut it if you want to. But again, this is such an iconic look. I'm going to show you some examples. And also, with these 3D embossing folders, you need to get the 3D embossing folder plate. I messed around with my 3D embossing folders for a while before I broke down and bought the 3D embossing folder plate. And then when I bought this, it just made this so much easier. It makes these 3D folders cut like butter. I'll show you, I'll do a demonstration of it at the end of the video if you want to stick around and watch. And I'll also include the number in the video description. So you need that in order to make this. I mean, you can use your others, but I'll show you and you'll agree. And At the end, I'll do a quick card and show you how to die cut and emboss these and make them come out right. And so let me, without further ado, start showing you some cards that I've made. So this is a card that I made with another demonstrator, Kay Cogbill. She has Paper Made Prettier. She's an awesome demonstrator. So in this card, we use the Delicata ink. It's not available anymore. I really hope Stampin' Up! Continues to offer that at Christmas. If you didn't get your hands on some, well, maybe you can somewhere else. But it was beautiful. So we used the long background stamp on the back, and then we stamped the sentiment in Rococo Rose, and then also this accent stamp in the, I believe it was the bronze. Could have been the gold though. I think it was the bronze Delicata ink. It came out really pretty. I mean, that is just such an iconic look. It's exactly what you think of when you think of just a greeting card. I went ahead and did pretty much the same design with some color in it. This is the Highland Heather on the purple posy paper. The oval I cut with the stitched layered dies, and the other one is with the layered oval dies. This is the Polka Dot Tulle Ribbon, and it's just really pretty. It was really easy to put together. And again, super iconic look. So that's just the stamps. Not using any of the dies or the paper. That's just the stamps. This card, I'm using the die cut, or the embossing folder without the die cut. I just embossed the rectangle onto this purple posy paper. So with this embossing folder, I just embossed this. This is the Designer Series paper from the Woven Threads Designer Series paper. I cut the rectangles out with the center of this die. That's how I got the center. The purple, or the pretty peacock paper underneath it, was cut from the same rectangle. I just diagonally cut it in half, and you can see it spread apart. Right there you can see. And that's how I got the back of it. And then this is the Highland Heather and the pretty peacock to match it with the polka dotted tulle ribbon again. And that's how I did that card. And here it is with, one other thing. This is from the Smooth Sailing die set, this label. I loved it, and I definitely want to use it again. It fit that thank you very much perfectly. And here's one done with just the embossing folder of the oval embossing folder. It's done in the terracotta tile. I cut the oval out again with the die from the die cut. This is more of the Woven Threads Designer Series paper. This is from the stamp set. It fit perfectly in this label. The label is from the Detailed Bands dies. And the stamp fit in there really nice. These were those faceted dots that I showed you in the beginning. They're real pretty with the polka dotted tulle ribbon again. And so these were just with the embossing folder. Next is a card that I did with the embossing folder and the die cuts. So there you go. Isn't that beautiful? I mean, that is just so iconic. I mean, exactly what you think of when you think of a greeting card right there. And so easy to put together, but anybody that receives this card is going to think it's really pretty. So this is the Designer Series paper. This is Seaside Spray. I cut out the die cut first, and then I embossed it with the folder. This oval I cut with the Layering Ovals dies. It's out of the Sahara sand, and I stamped on it with the Seaside spray and the terracotta tile. And then these are some of the sequins from the Woven Threads Sequin Assortment. And then here it is with the rectangle. Cut out the rectangle and use the rectangle embossing folder. Isn't it pretty? This is just so beautiful. And again, it was so easy to put together. This is, again, the Woven Threads Designer Series paper in Pretty Peacock. The Sahara sand. Some of those really cute little sequins. This thread is Sahara sand thread, and I can't remember where I got it from. Sorry. It's Stampin' Up, but I think I got it from a kit, maybe, and it was left over. But so again, this is just such an iconic look for cards and so easy to put together. And it doesn't just have to be with the Woven Threads Designer Series paper. It is really easy to use with any of the Designer Series paper. This one is from the Bird Ballad paper with Old Olive. Isn't that pretty? I just really love it. And again, I'll show you at the end of the video. If you want to stick around, I'll show you how to cut in. Well, I already have one cut. You know how to cut something. I'm going to show you how to emboss it. Also, a fun thing that you can do with this is you can make shaker cards. This was very easy to make. I just used the what are those called? The clear window sheets. The clear window sheets, it's clear. And so I just cut out one of the ovals from the Layering Ovals dies, a little bit bigger than this die. And then I glued it to this. After that, I took some of the foam adhesive strips and just put them around right on top of this clear sheet. It was turned over, of course. And then I just sprinkled in some of the sequins. And I stamped this on an oval, of course, and then stuck it all on top. It was really easy to make. Again, these dies are so easy to work with. I think every stamper, every card maker should get their hands on these dies and embossing folders. One of the prettiest things that I've done with them is cut and emboss this foil paper. It is just so beautiful. This is the gold foil paper. Isn't that pretty? And it's just on top of some of the, this is the 6x6 Designer Series paper in the Pretty Peacock, and this was that reversible peacock ribbon. Isn't that pretty? And so easy to make. And now if all these other cards haven't convinced you, this should convince you. This is a card that's just almost all white, and it's beautiful. I used the square or the rectangle folder and die, and I cut it in the silver foil paper, and it's just on top of some shimmery white paper with some little pearls and the polka dotted. This was done in the smoke slate, not instead of black. That way it wasn't so in your face. So that makes a lovely wedding card. Now again, it was just so easy to do. So let me show you how to emboss. I have already cut out a circle or an oval and a square, and these are cut out of the Pretty Peacock foil paper. I did it in the foil paper because it's a little bit easier, I think, for you to see when see what I've done, what I'm doing with this. Let's see, I might need to flip this up just a little bit. Okay, so all you need is your die cut machine, whatever die cut machine you're going to use, and the bottom plate. That's all you need. You don't need any of your other plates to accomplish this. Let's do this rectangle one first. You're just going to line up your, so I've already die cut them because you know how to die cut them. So you're just going to line up your little die cut image here inside of your folder. I mostly am looking at just the inside. Instead of trying to look at the whole thing, I'm just looking at the inside to line it up. And of course you want to have the logo upward, because this is the side that it's going to, at the top of the embossing it's going to be on. I mean, the back will be embossed too and it will be pretty, but this is the way you want it. Okay, so next you're just going to lay it down on your machine, and now you want this part to be the part that goes in first. You don't want the part that opens to go in first. And then we're just going to take this 3D embossing plate and stick it right on top. Now with my other folders, I was fighting with it, and you're gonna see how easy this is. It's just gonna slide right through here, and no fighting with your machine, no trying to force it through, because it just runs through perfectly. And there you have it. There it is. This one was the pretty peacock. So very pretty. And then let's do one of the ovals too. So here's the oval. And again, I'm just going to take it and I'm going to line it up inside the middle here. Instead of trying to work on all this space, I'm just going to look at this, the inside space here. It makes it a little easier. And there we go. Just clasped it in there. Again, I'm just going to lay it down on my machine with the folded part going in first. I usually caulk it a little bit too. I don't usually send them straight through. Just the slightest little angle there. And then I put the blue plate on top. Gonna glance at it and make sure I didn't move it, because that was a lot of shuffling around. And I did move it. So let me just look at it again one more time, because I want it to look pretty. Okay, line it back up again. And close it. It's not perfect, but it'll do. No, it won't. I am a perfectionist, sorry. And I'm in love with it there. All right, good enough. I'm going to stick it in here, and again, watch how easily this is, because I seriously was fighting with my other folder, my other plates to get the folders to go through. I mean, I was really, this is not at all that much of a struggle. It just pops out the end. And then here we go. Let's see what we got here. And there you have it. Isn't that pretty? Very pretty. And again, it's such an iconic look. I've used these to make some really pretty birthday cards for a 50-year-old. I had 50, and for a 90-year-old, I had 90. It was kind of up on top. It was really pretty. So, let's make a card. Why don't we? Let's make a card real quick so I can just show you how easy this stamp set is to work with. Or this, I'm not going to use the stamp set. I'm going to use the dies and the folders. The stamp set is beautiful and I definitely recommend it. But I highly recommend that you get the folders and the dies, because they're just so perfect for making cards. This is from, this little marigold here, or magnolia here, is from the Magnolia Blooms stamp set. This is a little known stamp set because it is hidden off in a catalog. It's a beginner catalog. Oh, I thought I had one here. Here it is. Again, I'll include the number at the bottom. It's in this little catalog here. It's it has some cute little kits and things in it, but that's where you find this stamp set. It's not in the Big Occasions catalog, and it's not in any of the holiday catalogs. It's just in this one. But I'll include the number again at the bottom. So we're going to use that stamp set. We're going to use the big Magnolia out of that stamp set. And I have some Old Olive here. And since this is a cling mount stamp set, I'm going to stamp it on my, my foam mat here. I just have some paper taped on because if I'm going to stamp off of it a little bit, I would rather stamp onto some paper. So I'm going to go off of the little oval just a little. There we go. I have my image. I want to work kind of fast because I want to take my water blender pen here, and I am just using regular paper here, but I like to take a little water pen and spread this out just a little, just to give it some accent color here. If you want more, you can go back and get a little from the ink pad too. I'm going to put a little more in my leaves. Make them stick out just a little more. Just a little more. Here, and that's it. I think that's good. So I'm just giving this a little bit of shadow because I don't just want it to be all white. So there we go. And again, I just used the regular Whisper White paper. Next, let's take our card base, which I have some Granny Green here. And this is from the Pretty Peacock Specialty Designer Series paper. It's really pretty. It sort of has Old Olive and Granny Green, I think, in it. Yes. Granny Apple Green. Not Granny Green. Granny Apple Green. So, next, all you have to do is... Oh, and you know, with that oval die, you can run it through any folder. You don't just have to use the folders that it came with. This one is from the Layered Leaves 3D folder. You can just see the leaves there. I use that one, and this again is from the Pretty Peacock foil paper. Oh, and I want to stamp a sentiment on here too before I stick it down. This is I love the calligraphy in this one too. The happy birthday and the thank you. These match nicely with the other Magnolia set in the catalog. They don't have the happy birthday and the thank you with that set, or the congratulations. This is a great add-on set for that too, by the way. Let me open up my ink again because I still want to stamp a sentiment. We're going to use the thank you, and I'm just going to stamp it right up here. There we go. Thank you. And close up the ink. Next, we need some dimensionals. Uh-oh. No dimensionals on hand. So, you could glue down this frame, but I feel like it looks better if you use dimensionals and pop it up a little bit. So I'm going to glue this down, and I'm going to aim for about the middle of my paper here. That looks pretty good. I want my sentiment to be nice and straight too. And then this is going to go on top. And so I grabbed mini dimensionals. I would have rather had big ones, but we'll just go with these little mini instead of the regulars. Oop. And so this looks really nice with the dimensionals, raising it up a little bit. Again, it's a super iconic look that just looks lovely on a greeting card. So there you go. And then you can put a little ribbon up here at the top. Put gems on it anywhere. But again, you don't have to just use the folders that came with those dies. You can use any folder that you have with those dies because it's just a beautiful look. So I will include all the item numbers for all this stuff that you could use. I'll include all the item numbers for the suite and everything in the suite. I highly, highly recommend that you get the dies and the embossing folders because they were just so easy to work with. This is such an iconic look for a greeting card. You could literally put anything inside of here. I just tried to just work with the stamp set. But you could put anything inside of this circle, oval or rectangle. And again, the shaker cards were super easy and fun to make. And so, if you have any questions, leave me a question. Make sure and hit like and subscribe. I'll include all the item numbers at the bottom. And as always, thank you for watching. See you next year.